If you are looking to move it to Brooklyn, safety in the community is a priority for many when considering a neighborhood to settle down in. You want to feel secure when walking home at night, especially if you have a family. With Brooklyn becoming a hot living choice in recent years, offering a more relaxing pace of life with easy access to Manhattan, many neighborhoods went through drastic changes. Some saw extreme development, others lost population as people moved further from the city, while others experienced significant shifts in their overall demographics. With so much going on throughout 2023, it is important to keep in mind which communities remain some of the safest in Brooklyn heading into 2024. In this video, we will review the 10 safest neighborhoods in Brooklyn through 2023, and they just might not be the areas you would think. So stick around to find out some places to consider when picking a community in Brooklyn. These neighborhoods come from demographic statistics of the Brooklyn market up until December 1st. And starting at number 10, we have Fort Greene, which was 46% below the national crime average. Named after the namesake park within, it is a colorful community in a residential area with a median age of 33. With a mixed population as seen in this chart above, it has a little under 30,000 residents that are usually singles or couples, with only 25% of the neighborhood being family households with children. 93% of the working population are in white-collar jobs, usually in healthcare, finance, business management, or education, earning a little over $150,000 a year. With a high cost of living for a one-bedroom apartment being $4,000 of rent on average, this is because it is so close to Manhattan. Greene is also an extremely well-educated community. At number 9, we have Bensonhurst, which is 51% the national crime rate. With very good Italian cuisine because of many Italian-American families living here since Italians migrated into Brooklyn in the start of the 20th century, Bensonhurst is located in the southwest of Brooklyn, providing a denser urban feel than most other neighborhoods. It has above-average public schools and many parks and playgrounds for your children, as well as bars, restaurants, coffee shops, and a good nightlife. With 75% of Bensonhurst being family households, most residents happen to be renters, with 61% of all the 19,600 occupied units having renters in them. It is great for young families to move in, since they would be living in a community where 3/4 of every household is also another family. Residents tend to work in education or retail, with a lower white-collar working population and average annual household income in Bensonhurst being about $82,000. Number 8, this one was a huge surprise to me, being one of Brooklyn's most impoverished neighborhoods, however ranking 8th on our list, and this is Coney Island. At 54% below the national average, Brooklyn's coastal town and one of its main entertainment hubs has an abundance of attractions like Luna Park, its beaches, and the famous Wonder Wheel amusement park that it is so known for in the pictures. Coney Island is home to many families as well as retirees because of the lower cost of living, with rent prices almost half of Brooklyn's average. This is partly due to its median household income only being $37,000 a year, with 7.5% of people living below the poverty line. In terms of age, 22% are over 65 and 27% are between 45 and 64, with many retirees attracted here because of the lower cost of living in a time they are likely no longer earning income. Coney Island has a lower level of education, showing that about 40% hold the high school degree, with over half being college graduates. Residents work in healthcare service occupations and sales jobs. Next, at number 7, we have Borough Park at 57% below the national average. Offering affordable prices in an increasingly ever expensive Brooklyn market, it offers lower rent prices and a decent cost of living, as seen on this chart. It is also home of a sizable Hispanic, Asian, and Jewish populations, and has a lower amount of homeowners, with 67% of its 40,000 housing units having renters in them, and of that percentage that do own homes, 77% are family households. Borough Park has an average income of $76,000, and people here tend to work in education, construction, restaurants, and food services. Number 6 is Boerum Hill, 1% safer than Borough Park at 58% lower than the national average. Boerum Hill is one of the neighborhoods that has gotten significant attention in recent years and is known as the village within the city. A neighborhood of brownstones and townhouses, it has a handful of trendy bars, restaurants, indie shops, and more. The upper middle class love this area, with a 30 or so minute train ride into Manhattan and fantastic food and entertainment options all around. With a higher percent of white-collar workers than most, residents tend to work for private companies, government institutions, or are entrepreneurs. Boerum Hill is also home to some of the higher earners in the borough, with the average household income at a staggering $202,000. Of its 5,473 households, which is much less than most of Brooklyn neighborhood, being that Boerum Hill is only a square mile large, family establishments are 46%, with 68% of occupied housing being filled by renters, having a very well-educated population. To kick off the top 5 safest neighborhoods in Brooklyn, we start with America's first suburb, and this is Brooklyn Heights. With plenty of green areas and unrivaled views of Manhattan, Brooklyn Heights sits at 71% lower than the national average crime rate and is a lot quieter than some of its neighboring areas despite being across the East River from the financial district. Home to plenty of public and private schools, it is a great place for your family with many things to do and places to see. I went into detail about the family-friendly activities, schools available, and type of community Brooklyn Heights is, along with 2 other Brooklyn neighborhoods in a previous video about the top areas for families to consider in Brooklyn. So go check that out after this video. Back to Brooklyn Heights. 47% of its houses are family households, with 35% being owner-occupied housing. Most residents in the area have a bachelor's degree and work in business management, finance, or office operations. The average annual income is $213,000, and this is probably because of the higher cost of living being right outside of Manhattan, with 1-bedroom apartments going over for $4,000. At number 4, we have Cobble Hill, 79% below the national crime rate. This is best for families, young professionals, and commuters. It has a median household income of $135,000, with 65% of its housing units being renter-occupied. 50% of all of its households are families, and this area has a very laid-back atmosphere, one that you will feel comfortable in, with many specialty food markets, places to eat, as well as numerous playgrounds and shops. Cobble Hill is right next to the Columbia Street waterfront district, which offers its own selection of great restaurants, clothing boutiques, as well as pockets of parks and community gardens throughout the area. Cobble Hill is a charming neighborhood, with generation-old family-run stores lining the neighborhood streets, alongside Italian butchers, outdoor cafes, and cozy bistros. Some of the best repurposed luxury real estate inventory exists here, with reimagined Victorian-style carriage houses and older Gothic churches being converted into residential housing options. At number 3, it is 80% beneath the national crime rate, and this is Red Hook. Best for creatives, many older shipping and industrial infrastructure was repurposed into modern housing developments or artisanal stores and galleries. It is common to even see a mix of both, with the bottom garage area of what used to be a warehouse now being utilized as a gallery or art studio, with the upper stories being apartments or condo units. A very cool style in Red Hook, it has its own collection of shops, cafes, and places to meet up with friends. 57% of homes in Red Hook are family households, with 68% of its 16,000 occupied housing units being renters. Red Hook has a median household income of $121,000, with one of the highest percent of entrepreneurs in its employment statistics at 16%, with residents also working for private companies and government institutions. Number 2, we have Gowanus, which is 84% lower than the national crime rate. Personally, this is one of the coolest places in Brooklyn, in my opinion, because it is surrounded by fantastic neighborhoods like Carroll Gardens, Boerum Hill, and Park Slope. Gowanus is similar to Red Hook in that it is largely a repurposed industrial area with a mix of converted warehouses and classic row housing units making up much of its district. It also has the Gowanus Canal running right through the middle of it, which makes it a very hip area that attracts young professionals with bars all throughout the neighborhood. It has its own restaurants and shops as well, with 72% of households not having children. However, 54% are owned by family households, meaning there are a lot of couples that live in this area after getting together. Gowanus has a median household income of $133,000 a year, with a variety in earnings between its age groups. 35% are owner-occupied of its almost 10,000 housing units. And finally, at number 1, we have Prospect Heights, which is 98% lower than the national crime rate. People here work in government institutions and private firms. This area also has less family households than most, at 44%, with 80% of its family households not having children as well. Prospect Heights has a higher renter demographic at 71%, and this is largely due to how great of an area it is and all that it encompasses. The median household income sits at $123,000 a year, and it's a neighborhood with a mix of housing options and impressive luxury condos, as well as classic brownstones, offering craft cocktail bars and trendy eateries. Prospect Heights has a median age of 34 and offers cultural institutions like the Brooklyn Museum, as well as a variety of dining and nightlife spots. Other notable places in Prospect Heights include the Brooklyn Public Library and the Barclays Center, home of the Brooklyn Nets and host to many of top artists across the world. With many identifiable landmarks, Prospect Heights offers access to Brooklyn's hottest destination venues without sacrificing a friendly commute into Manhattan, which is only 35 minutes away. Truly a great spot that is centrally located in Brooklyn. You can get anywhere else you would like to go in a reasonable time, and this is probably why it has such a large renter demographic. It also just so happens to be the safest neighborhood in all of Brooklyn, and is why Prospect Heights is so sought after. So, there you have it, the 10 safest neighborhoods in Brooklyn through this year, 2023. Please let me know what neighborhoods you didn't expect and which ones you would consider moving into in the comments. If you would like my help searching for your next home in these neighborhoods or any others in Brooklyn, my contact information is listed below. If you like this type of content, please like and subscribe so I know to make more of these types of videos. I post twice a week on YouTube and even more on other socials. So till next time, thanks for watching.